Right. Good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to today's Friday Learn in Your Lunchtime webinar. Those of you that have been on these sessions before know that we go through just some incredibly important topics for students. I interview experts. We spoke to a student mental health expert last week, Melissa Ardendorf, and that was absolutely excellent. And we just got such wonderful feedback about all the insights that Melissa provided. We've had people like Dr. Jeff, who's got 2 PhDs, so just providing some inspiration for what you could possibly achieve. We've spoken to Buntu Fantesa, who's off to Oxford this year on the Rhodes Scholarship. So really the intention with these sessions is not only to bring in those experts and to give you the inspiration about what you can achieve in terms of student success, but also to coach you and teach you on a couple of very useful topics to help you be a successful student, which is what we're all about on the Student Success Coach YouTube channel. And today we're going to be looking at time management. And this is probably one of the most requested topics and one of the biggest challenges that I think students have in terms of getting through their studies and being successful at all levels and in all stages of whether it's an undergraduate degree or a postgraduate master's, PhD level. There are just milestones and deadlines and writing and research and analysis and work that needs to be done. And yet most of us are very also busy in our lives. We've had challenging times with lockdowns in 2020. Some of that's starting to ease up in 2021. But there's no doubt that in the coaching and discussions and community that I'm involved in the Student Success Coach Facebook group, this issue of time management and just getting things done is a constant challenge. And I can see in my courses, and I'll make a few of those available this afternoon as well. The sort of top selling courses are around time management and people's ability to get more out of their 24 hours in whatever sphere of life. So today we'll be really focused on that student success aspect. But in any project or sphere of life or career or role that you play, it's about being as productive as you possibly can with your time. So thanks very much for just saying hi in the chat. That's really great and good to see such a wide variety. Pretoria, Wits, Paka, fantastic to give you guys. I think these sessions are being shared in your university now as well. And we've had Stellenbosch and Nelson Mandela University, Cape Town as well. So guys, brilliant. Let's get into it and hope to give you lots of value, lots of insights. And I think what is very special today, I'll be giving you free access into one of my courses and discounted access into another course. It's really a 2 for the price of 1 offer today that you'll be able to take advantage of. But really the main thrust of what I'm going to take you through in the next hour is actually going to be sharing a couple of examples of students in our Student Success Coach Facebook group, and one in particular who's put some of these practices to good use. And I think that really is the greatest test of any of these types of techniques, because there are books and models and theories and lots of different ideas out there about time management. But what I want to share with you today is what somebody from our own community, one of the students that is active and been on a number of these webinars, has achieved with a couple of the techniques and principles that I've taught in the courses. And I'll take you through some of the benefits that she's been able to get out of applying those techniques. So we'll look at what she's done, and we'll touch on a couple of other topics, and I'll give you access into full detail on this issue of mastering your time and your tasks, because you can master your time, but are you organized in terms of then what you use that time to achieve and what tasks you focus on? So we'll look at both in the first sort of 25 minutes, a little bit about time management, and then in the second half of the webinar, a little bit more around the task management side of things. And I think we even have some students from Belgium on today. So if the Belgium students are on, please do say hi and let us know that you're joining us from Belgium. Really great to see that we just got a bit of an international flavor in these sessions. And guys, thanks very much for saying hi. I think we've got a really fantastic group of people on today. But now let's put some specific questions into the chat. What specifically are you challenged with today in terms of time management and task management, what you actually do with the time that you make available in your 24 hours a day? And we'll then deal with those questions as we go through them. All right, so what I did promise you was that we would talk about some specific examples so that you can see, the principles that we'll talk about today actually being put into practice. And I don't know if Ramona is joining us today. Ramona, if you are, please do say hi in the chat so that you can just verify this is real. But what I'm going to share now is what Ramona put in our Student Success Coach Facebook group. And I'm also recording this for the podcast. So just for the benefit of people who are only listening to this, let me just read then very quickly what she posted in our Facebook group a couple of weeks ago. Morning, everyone. Today, I'm burning my boats by committing to do 3 units of my Law of Evidence module by midnight tonight. I've really been struggling with some personal issues which have resulted in me falling behind with my schoolwork. Procrastination has also played its role, so I'm really not innocent either, but I want to take back control of my academics by catching up with all my modules starting today. Please help me by holding me accountable today. Now, I think anybody on the call today could have written this post at some stage in our life or in our studies or in any other project that we've taken on. I know that I certainly could have done so. But the principle that Ramona is putting into place here in this post, and that we'll talk about just now, is this idea of burning your boats and identify the challenge that she's got with time management, and then making a public declaration of how she's going to use her time better in a coming period to achieve a certain outcome, and in that public commitment to make not only a decision that she's going to achieve what she wants to, but then get the support and the input and the encouragement from everybody else in the group. So, we run the Student Success Coach members only Facebook group, and you can by all means join that group today, and you can take advantage of coming in there and burning your boats, very much like Ramona did. And what I'm going to take you through now is then what really transpired. What is the story? And this is a real life story. This is no fancy theoretical time management. This is Ramona's story about using the burning your boats principle to be more effective in time management. So let's take you through then what transpired after she made this public commitment. You can see there, 6:45 in the morning, she woke up and she said, I'm burning my boats. I learned this principle. Let's put it to the test and see if it works. So what happened was then, and I moderate the members only Facebook group, and I replied immediately to her post because I saw it there. And I said, hi, Ramona, congrats for burning your boat. So tick. First thing is identify the problem and then make that public commitment out there. And in the course that I'll give you guys access to now, I actually tell the story of when I also burnt my boats in front of about 150 people at work where I needed to get a project done. And I stood up in front of them. And by burning your boats, you eliminate your escape route, because we always tend to think we can get out of doing something because we're either procrastinating or it's not a priority for us, or there's other barriers. And often many of those are self-imposed. But if you make that public commitment, you eliminate, just like, and I tell the story in the course as well, the Spanish commander, when they landed on the beaches, the commander of the fleet told them to burn the boats so that they couldn't escape off the island. They had to conquer the island. They couldn't run back into the boats and escape. There was no retreat. So I congratulated Ramona on, first of all, burning her boats, because by making that public commitment, she's now out there and she's kind of obligated now. And her mental mindset has shifted from one of where the procrastination dominates and the reasons for procrastinating, the other things that she can do with her times, dominates her consciousness. Now her consciousness is dominated by the other 1,000+ members that we've got in the members only Facebook group, seeing this post and hopefully obviously encouraging her and being very positive about it, but also having a bit of an expectation, now that she's committed to doing this, that she's actually going to follow through on that. So I then went on to say, we support you all the way. Fantastic, Ramona. Please let us know your progress and give us a successful update at midnight. And that was the milestone or the deadline that she put out there for herself. And importantly, if you look there at my second sentence, even if you don't get all 3 units done, and that was what she'd committed to do, it's more than what she would have done if she hadn't burnt her boats. So then, just affirming what she had done and encouraging her not to stop or give up today, just keep going with those 3 law units. And what I always say is, don't set your sights too high. Even if it's a small objective, you build big projects out of small tasks and small steps. A PhD or a master's degree is a series of small steps and tasks, and you may need to burn your boats to get through any of those tasks along the way. So I'm just going to deal with a question here quickly. Olebocheng, what, if I may ask, is to burn my boat? Right. So this is exactly what you're going to learn in the course. But just to re-emphasize quickly, it takes away your escape route. So if you think about a project that you want to achieve, and there's lots of other things that you could do with your time. You can go and watch TV. You can go and have an ice cream. You can go to the movies. You can do all the other things that we tend to crowd with our time available, instead of focusing on that task that you need to get done. And this is time management 101, is being able to prioritize on exactly what you want to do in the time that you have available. And burning the boats eliminates all of those other things that would have otherwise taken that time away from what you actually want to spend on it. So burning your boats is, as I explained, the naval commander of the Spanish fleet literally burned the boats, and this was in the 1800s or whatever, when they landed on this country and the beach to conquer the island. The naval commander, because he wanted his men to be absolutely focused on taking over the land, he made them literally burn their boats. They burned their boats, so they could not escape the island. The only choice was to conquer it or be captured. And mentally, somehow that focuses your mind. And it focused their minds, and they were successful. And he knew, the naval commander, that if they kept the boats there, then they knew there was a backup plan. They could retreat and go back, etc. So burning your boats in an academic student success context is about saying, like Ramona has done, I've got an assignment coming. I've got some studying that I need to do. Publicly, or to somebody that you trust, or a mentor, or in a Facebook group, commit to getting that done, or possibly with your supervisor. Commit to, I'm going to send you a draft of that section of my thesis by Monday at 12 o'clock. That is burning your boat. And in a number of these webinars, and Cara, I think it was in October, November last year, she just shared with the group that she was having a serious challenge. She was procrastinating and not being able to get to studying. So we said to Cara, well, burn your boats right now in this webinar, and commit to how many hours of study you're going to do, let's say by Sunday night or whatever it is. And then again, we followed up in the Facebook group, and she managed to get her studies done. She had exams the following week, and she got through them as a result then, partly because of the burning the boats process that she followed, and the commitment that she'd made in this type of webinar to getting those hours of studying done. Okay, so let's come back to Ramona's story. She then confirmed, thank you, will do. And then I followed up during the day. I think it was lunchtime or early afternoon. I said, right, Ramona, how are things going? 1 or 2 modules done yet? So remember, any task, you need to be able to break it down into those stepping stones. Ramona had picked 3 things she wanted to do by midnight. And I was sort of saying, okay, by lunchtime, you need to sort of be 1 or 1.5 way through, etc. Pace yourself properly. Don't make a commitment that's too big that you can't get done, etc. And just, for me, this is what brings a smile to my face and makes it all worthwhile in terms of the effort that I put into creating this brand, and the sessions that we run, and the work that we do in the Members Only Facebook group, and the courses that we make available, and which you'll be able to get access to today. She then posted a picture, and I waited up until midnight. I often don't sleep very much. I think everyone on the call knows this. If you know me well, I need to get more sleep. That's my task to work on. But I specifically decided that night to follow up with Ramona because she'd made that commitment, and set the deadline of midnight to ask her at midnight how far she had got. And she said she'd done, I think, 2.5 modules, and she posted a couple of pictures. And this is a public post that everybody else was commenting on and liking, etc. But when she woke up at 6:42 that morning and made that post onto the Facebook group, she knew she needed to get this work done, but she needed to overcome the mental block of procrastination. And we've just seen here, Rachel, thank you for this, Rachel. Thank you for your vulnerability and your willingness to share. Hi, I'm studying. I have serious time management. How can I overcome this? So in the course, are a range of techniques, and we'll touch on what else you get in the course just now. But one of them is the burn the boats principle. So Rachel, my answer to your question as a practical action that you can take out of today, and even in today's session, if you're struggling with something that you're trying to do in your studies and you don't know how to manage your time to get it done, put a comment. Let's help Rachel today. We're all going to help Rachel now. Rachel, if you could pick something that you want to get done in the next couple of days and that you've been struggling to manage your time to get done in the last week or so. And if you go back to Ramona's post, she acknowledges that she's had her own personal issues and she's not perfect and there are other things floating around, etc. But burn the boats just focuses your mind. So Rachel, what is it that you want to focus your mind on today? And what is that deadline and outcome that you want to share with everybody in the session today? So think about it. Don't make it too big or too bold. Just set your sights at the right level where you know that if you were to make that public commitment and burn your boats and we were to encourage you to achieve that, it would make a measurable difference in your studies of your BSc and the progress that you want to make in the next couple of weeks. So my suggestion would be tell us by Sunday night or Monday lunchtime, what is that specific outcome that you want to achieve? Is it 200 words on your thesis? Is it a module of studying that you need to do for an exam next Friday? Is it an assignment that you need to hand in as part of the work that you're doing, etc.? You pick something, whatever it is that when you get there, just like Ramona has done here, you can post it in the Facebook group and we can like and celebrate that you've overcome that barrier of procrastination and the serious time management mental issues that you have here. And Julie says here, as a perfectionist, I spend way too much time on all my tasks and I end up not finishing things or not sleeping at all. What do you recommend doing in order to still achieve all my work in time? Right, Julie. So in the second half of this webinar today, we're going to get in about 10 minutes. We're going to talk about how to master your tasks, right? So mastering time is about, making sure that you clear that mental block, you clear your diary, you're able to focus on what you need to do. Task management is then about making sure that you do the right things in that time that you've made available. Now, if Ramona, for example, had burnt the boats on doing a task that wasn't going to make a measurable difference in her studies, it's good time management, but it's not prioritizing her task. So Julie, we're going to come back to your question when we get into the Kanban board principles that I'm going to teach you in the second half of this webinar, which is then about how you prioritize the tasks that you then focus on in the time that you make available. And Mangozo Engineering Week is starting tomorrow. I feel under so much pressure. Mangozo, please go back to, I think you were in the webinar last week, the student mental health webinar. We all shared, the challenges that we have and the pressure that we feel under and the anxiety that it creates, and how we need to look after ourselves, exercise, eat well, sleep well, all those good things. Melissa gave us some really fantastic advice about. So Mangozo, that's the first starting point. Don't sacrifice your sleep, and then it builds up, the anxiety and the delay and the deadlines. Get a decent night's sleep as a first thing. That should always be, I think, your first task. Eat healthy, be healthy. Lockdowns have created added pressures in terms of isolation, etc. And then when you're on that stable level, and we even spoke about, depression and anxiety and possible medication and counseling, etc., and so on last week. Time management isn't really, necessarily going to solve that if you just you've got to get those basics right. So that's why we did that session last week. So go and look at that session. If you don't feel that you've got something that needs to be medicated or solved through counseling, etc., and it's just your mental issues, procrastination, everybody, that's not a deficiency in you. That's not a sickness. That's normal. That's human. Trust me, every single person struggles with procrastination. There's absolutely no question about it. I'm one of the best procrastinators in the world, believe me. But I burn my boats. I apply that technique. I've got into the habit of doing that and committing to people, whether it's my boss or my kids. If I need to fix a light bulb, I say to Juliet, my daughter, I will fix your light bulb by Sunday night. And then she's going to sit and say, Dad, how's progress going on the light bulb? And I've made that commitment to my family. So everybody struggles with it, but get the mental health issues hopefully on track, and then apply the time management and the task management aspects as you need to. Mangozo, that was just the thoughts there. And Temba Letu, I have a lazy morning. I don't become productive the rest of the day. So again, Temba, Ramona at 6:42 in the morning, she obviously kind of just probably woken up, and she knew that if she didn't burn her boats, she might have a lazy morning and then she feels bad because she hasn't done anything, and then the afternoon is a disaster, the evening's a disaster, and she probably might cram in a couple of hours, get a bad night's sleep, and it's a cycle that repeats. So Temba, the best thing is wake up in the morning, burn your boats, and as I've offered in the chat there, come in and join the members only Facebook group, and you can burn your boats in there, and there's 1,000+ other students and community members and mentors in there that will encourage you to get that commitment done in the time that you've committed to do it. Once you burn your boats. Mishak, thank you very much. I know that you will also benefit, and we are waiting for Oleboheng, I think it is, to give us a commitment in the chat in terms of what they're going to do to burn their boats. Okay, now Ramona went even further, and this is what I want to share with you guys is so powerful, is that she repeated this. Okay, so the one I showed you just now was on the 8th of April. It worked so well for her. She got her modules done. You can go read the post. There was a bit more other detail, etc. in there. 12th of April, again, 9:25, she comes in. Morning, everyone. Burning my boats again today by committing to cover at least 2 lectures worth of work and the corresponding readings for administrative law by the end of today. Please help me keep myself accountable. And I answered, just for the benefit of people listening on the podcast, wow, Ramona, go for it. At this rate, you will get your degree on this method. And that's how it should be. And I'd love us all to do a daily burn your boats, task by task, day by day. Everyone can be a successful student. Go for it, Ramona Stemmer. You're becoming our hashtag burn your boats champion. So a PhD, a master's, a BSc, a law degree is going to be a series of tasks. It's going to be a series of more successful days than not, more successful hours, and stepping stones and tasks that you take to get there. There is no magic silver bullet at any level of studies or in any project that you tackle in life. It's going to be about getting those basic daily disciplines going right. And I love this point here. Kalahosi says, hi, when I'm about to do a certain task, I often think about the other tasks I have to complete and end up either not doing them or completing them poorly. How do I overcome this? Brilliant. So Kanban is task management, and we're going to focus on Kanban, as I say, in about 10 minutes. So Kalahosi, hold your thoughts there, and we'll get to that shortly. Jer Forjatso says, I'm behind with my work. I'm going back and forth with catching up, or both attending the lectures and catching up is overwhelming. I need help. Fantastic. Okay, well, we're here to help you. And listen, I also make my own time personally available at no price for 30 minutes. I'm happy if you want to DM me. We can exchange phone numbers. We can Zoom or WhatsApp, and I can just give you a little bit of direction if you need to. Absolutely don't charge for that. The benefit to me is that it keeps me, relevant in this group. It keeps me relevant in my courses and my training because I'm listening all the time to what are the real issues that people are facing. So pop into the Facebook group, pop me a DM if you want some help. But more importantly, apply the time management principles that you're learning today. Apply the task management principles that we're going to go through in Kanban just now. And Basit Sana from University of Pretoria, welcome. I've made myself a timetable, but I failed to follow it. And at the end of the day, I've not done all the work I planned to do, and I get left behind. Exactly, Basitsana, because you've done that beautiful timetable and you've put it up on your wall, but you haven't committed to anybody that you're going to do it. So you've only committed to yourself. And here's the thing, part of our humanity, part of our nature is that we can self-justify anything. We can self-justify, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I didn't really understand everything before I did that timetable. You know what? I've got tomorrow. That movie I want to go see, that seems like a much better idea, or that Netflix series I want to watch this afternoon. Yeesh, I've had such a bad week and I feel so behind. Let me just reward myself or feel better after my Netflix video, etc. And that's that repetitive negative cycle that I was talking about. So, Basitsana, make your timetable, implement a Kanban board, which we'll talk about just now, but then commit in our members only student success coach Facebook group. What are the specific tasks on that timetable that you're going to do? Once you make that public declaration into that Facebook group, you will have a different mindset. It will focus your mind on those tasks. And yes, you'll have the encouragement and the affirmation like I've been showing on the screen just now, but your own mindset will be about, I've burnt my boats. I cannot go back. I cannot admit later on when Peter or the other mentors in the group ask me, hey, Basitsana, how's it going? Did you get that module done? Did you get that assignment done? Did you complete those 2 hours of study, etc.? There's that obligation that's now been created by that public commitment, and that's the key that you're missing. And that I'd suggest, as a result of this webinar, hopefully that you've learned, you can add in to your discipline of timetables, because timetables is good and important, and absolutely, you need to use your morning for thinking time, your afternoon for administrative time. Absolutely plan your day, but you need to do one more than that, which is commit to somebody else what you're going to get done by the end of the day. And Justin, yes, absolutely. General burning the boat strategies. There's lots more detail in the course, which I'll give you access to just now. And Akil, I love this question. How do I manage my breaks? I work for 50 minutes and I usually take a 10-minute break, but that 10-minute break turns into an hour. We are all the same, Akil. It's humanity. And I think what we learned last week in the student mental health webinar is let's find some confidence and comfort from the fact that we all struggle with exactly the same issues. You are not unique. But the fact that you've put it in the chat today, you've mentioned it as something you're aware of, is the first step in resolving it. So that's self-awareness. And from that, we give you the feedback and the assistance for you to resolve it. What I'd like to do then is to first of all congratulate Ramona. Be like Ramona. You burnt your boats and you overcame your procrastination. So well done to Ramona. I don't know if Ramona is on the call today, but if she is, hopefully she's feeling good about burning her boats, not once, but twice. And so Akil, what I'd like to talk about now is this idea of the power of 10 minutes, which is one of the other topics in the course that I'll make available to you now. So burn the boats, as you can see there, is that first lecture. And then a little bit further down is the principles and practices of the power of 10 minutes for maximum short bursts. So what you're talking about there is, your 50-minute short bursts or 10 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever it is. How do you maximize that time? Power of 10 minutes talks about being as productive as you can in that time. But related to that is then how you organize the time around your short bursts so that you can maximize the time of the 10 minutes that you spend on those study periods and activities. And really, the guts of it is about saying that you can create hours of quality time from well-used bursts of 10 minutes, because in our busy lives today, we were all running all over the place. And I think we heard from somebody just now, they're going from one lecture to one task. And then because we've all been working and studying from home, and many people in our community are single moms, or they've got kids running around, or they're studying part-time, and there's loads of other things happening in their lives, they are not able to get those 1 or 2 or 3 hours at a time that they can really focus in and get into flow. The reality is you're going to have 10-minute bursts of time. But if you organize your life around those 10 minutes, then when you get into the 10 minutes, you're maximizing that time. And the story that I always tell is that in my workshop, I do a little bit of woodwork, and just one of the disciplines there is to make sure that you've got everything organized, so that when I go in, and as I said earlier, if I need to fix my daughter's light bulb, I'm not spending 5 minutes looking for a screwdriver and then another 10 minutes looking for a light bulb, and then scratching around in a box on a shelf for a piece of electrical cable, for example. Same if you're studying and you've got academic outcomes that you're trying to achieve. Make sure that your workspace is organized, and we'll talk about Kanban boards as a critical part of your workspace just now. But if you, as you can see there in one of the lectures in the course, prepare better for each 10 minutes, then you're going to boost your productivity. And people that have achieved a lot in their lives do not talk about the endless days and hours of time that they have available to focus on those things. They talk about the efficiency that they have in the short bursts of time that they can spend on those tasks. And it's not just about being organized before you get into those 10 minutes, but it's about making sure that you can quickly context switch. So you need to be able to context switch from a task to a lecture to an assignment to your kids to switching, fixing a light bulb. Constantly in our lives, we are context switching between different activities, between different contexts in which we need to do the work that's required from us. Okay, so a lot more detail is available there in the Power of 10 Minutes. And this is the course that I'm going to make available to you guys, and that you can go in. It's an hour and really not going to take you too long. And this one I can make available to you for free today. And I'd really like you just to hop in there and enroll. take advantage of those lectures, and we can interact in there. You can ask me any questions as the instructor of the course, and everybody also introduces themselves to the other students of the course, so you can get a lot more focused and dialed in on these issues of time management and personal tips for being more efficient and productive. And you can see there's some of the social proof from students that have been in that course. Chapiso feels energized and ready to conquer everything, learn some tools on how to prioritize my time, to use it more efficiently and attain my goals. Love the course, thank you. And if I could ask anybody that does do the course, and hopefully it's everybody on the call today, please do also leave a rating and a review. That social proof is so important for other people, obviously, to find the course, and for many other more students to get the benefit from what I put into the course and into my efforts there. Okay, right. Let's. I've got a couple of questions there. Let's just take Chipokelo's question. When do I plan my days the night before every morning? Okay, good. That's a very good question. So let's use that question, I think, then to jump into Kanban boards. Now, Chipokelo, now, yes, you will probably have some sort of routine of when during the day you're able to, spend time on planning versus spending time on actually doing things. And it's very dangerous to be perpetually planning or perpetually working. You need to, Stephen Covey West says, to sharpen the saw. So there's no point trying to cut down a tree with a blunt saw. Because it's going to take you so long. It's better to pause, take some time, sharpen the saw, and cut the tree in less time. So your planning activity that you're talking about there just makes you more efficient when you actually do the work, and you're trying to optimize when you actually do that. Now, in my personal response to this question, would say it's for me a little bit more on a weekly rhythm. And we'll talk about this idea of cadence just now. And cadence is exactly what Chipokela is talking about. Cadence is the rhythm that you establish in managing your tasks or your timetable or your plans or the work that you need to do. And what I did in my PhD, and just to make it absolutely real for everybody, is Sunday night, I would send my supervisors a weekly status report. And if a number of you have done some of my courses on this topic, you'll know how I teach this and help you obviously use that technique to get through your studies, not just as a good discipline for managing your supervisors and getting through your work, but also to establish this idea of cadence and a regular time in the week where you recap on the progress that you've made and the progress that you want to make in the coming period. Now, Chipokela, you may prefer to do this on a daily basis, and your cadence would be then a 24-hour rhythm. For PhD, I think maybe a week is fine, but if you're on a 1 year, then sure, maybe a day or work day, Monday to Friday type of thing might be better. And my advice would be pretty much I would suggest just the evening before, so that when you wake up, you use your freshest time to do that thinking and academic analysis that many of us are required to do. So, Kenneth, just to answer, I would say the evening before, provided you've had a good day. So it's cyclical, right? So don't obviously leave it till 12 o'clock the night before to plan your next day, because you're going to be tired, not going to be in a good mental state. But maybe just before dinner, so late afternoon, hopefully you've had a productive day, you can calibrate how much you're able to get through in a day. Therefore, you're not going to put too much on the list for the next day. When you wake up in the morning, you might have a disproportionate sense of how much you're able to get done during the day. And I remember Ramona woke up 6:42, burnt her boats, and she had a very productive day. Now, that not every day is going to be like that. You need to take an average view of how much you're able to get done during the day. And then I would suggest the night before, think about whatever else is happening the next day. Maybe, you've got commitments and you need to plan around those, etc. And I would suggest update your Kanban board. And that's exactly what I want to teach you about in this module or the section of the webinar. So, Kenneth, just to build on from what you were saying there, and these are some of the videos on the YouTube channel, and a lot of the coaching you can find there, and I make it very real and practical for students and the challenges that they're facing and the outcomes that they need to try and achieve. So the weekly status report I spoke about there, the cadence that I spoke about there is the weekly rhythm, and then the ability to master your tasks by limiting work in progress is the question that I wanted to come back, which was asked previously, that says, in the Kanban board, that I teach in the course, you really sort of set up three main columns. And you can visualize this in your workspace, and you've probably seen a Kanban board if you've used tools like Trello or Jira. Many of these are very popular apps, and people promise that you can save time by managing your tasks on an app or whatever. That's fantastic, and absolutely you can digitize it, or you can have a physical version of it, but you need to understand the principles of it. So the first principle is that you really need to divide up your world of the tasks that you're busy with in three major sections. And the first is your to-do list, your backlog. And typically that's going to be a long list of things that over the next couple of weeks or maybe even longer, that you need to get done. And then I was mentioning now this idea of limiting work in progress. For whatever rhythm of time you find works best, and Kenneth on a daily basis, or myself on a weekly basis, or for you, shouldn't be longer than a week, but whatever period it is that you feel appropriate, whether it's sticky notes or digital cards on a Trello board or elsewhere. And in the course, I actually teach you how to manage an electronic Kanban board as well, from your backlog. So Kenneth, you were sort of planning the night before, you would only move the tasks from your to-do column, your stickies, into the in progress column if you have a fairly certain idea of getting them completed in the next period of time. So if your sort of rhythm is a daily basis, 24 hours, only put the tasks in the in progress column that you can get done in those 24 hours. So if we take Ramona, for example, again, that morning she woke up, she decided to burn her boats. On her list of to-do things, she knew she had those three modules to get. She probably had a list of other things, but those are probably the pressing things that she knew she needed to get done in that day. She burnt her boats by committing to get them done, but she also would have put them in the in progress column to limit work in progress and give her that focus on only those things to do in the next period of time. And I just want to stick with Ramona because she's actually then also applied the Kanban principles. And I'm going to show you a picture of her own Kanban board at home just now. But so the columns are the verticals. And I teach you all in this course, you can go through a lot more detail in the course that I'll make a discounted offer available to you just now to go through it. But the horizontal view is the rows, or the swim lanes, or the specific projects. Now you can also color code your stickies. We have some other sort of coding process, etc. But very typically, if we're working in a syndicate, as many students often would, or at work, for example, your rows could be a work stream on the project. Or in a study environment, you could have a specific assignment that has a range of tasks, that you need to visualize the workflow that goes from to do to being in progress, and ultimately on the right-hand side to being in done. And that's then when you celebrate. So Ramona, for her law units, would have had a swim lane of those three units. So she would have moved those tasks from to do into in progress for that day only, nothing else. Remember, don't think that by putting a lot of tasks in your in progress column, you're going to get them done. You're not. You're just going to demotivate yourself because you're not going to get them done. So a key principle of Kanban, we've spoken about cadence, which in response to Kenneth's question is that regular rhythm, a day, 24 hours, a week, a month, whatever it is that you choose it to be, and limit work in progress. Those are two Kanban principles that I teach in the course and that I'm just giving you a quick overview of now. So that when you wake up in the morning, Kenneth, you get up, have a good breakfast, you've had a good night's rest. For that day, you only look at what's in your in progress column. So Kenneth, as I said to you, let's say the night before, you look at your to-do list, you calibrate how much you think you can get done in the day. You think about the next day and what other commitments you have to do. Move those stickies into that in progress column, burn your boats by committing to get them done. And then that day, your mission is to get those tasks done and moved into that column and completed and celebrated, hopefully with us in the members only Facebook group, so that you then clear that in progress column. And that cyclical rhythm of only moving tasks into in progress that you can do and that you burn your boats about, and then into the done column, is the visualization of workflow that Kanban gives you, and which is the rinse and repeat cycle that for 4 years I went through in my PhD. But again, as I say, I did it on a weekly basis. So Sunday night, I would send an email to my supervisors as a weekly status report. And again, in that email was a Kanban board. And I had a section in there that says, right, This is what I've done last week. I don't give them all the detail, just the top 5 tasks. Then this is what I commit to doing next week. And that weekly rhythm, which applies Kanban principles, and maybe only for the supervisors, I select a couple of things, and I've got a lot more detail that I'm managing separately that I need to know about, is my cadence and limiting of work in progress. Plus, it adds in the burn the boats, because I know that the following week, they will be expecting an update from me on what I've committed to do in that next time period of those tasks that will be in progress. So those are the principles of Kanban very quickly. And I just want to show you once again, Ramona, and for the benefit of people listening in on the podcast, just finished making my Kanban board. So well done, Ramona. Separated my to-do into rows. So what I mentioned to you about rows. So she's got categories of responsibilities. And in the course, I give you an assignment to set up a Kanban board. And I've had the most incredible assignments. I've had people that are trying to sell their house or plan their wedding or get into a baseball or a soccer team, and what are the tasks that they need to think about in that life project. And it can be a study assignment, it can be any outcome that you're trying to achieve in your life. But what Ramona is talking here about is that she's understood that principle of the rows in the Kanban board are the categories through which she needs to manage workflow. And in the horizontal, she can clearly categorize the task that she has. So maybe there's multiple rows that she's dealing with, but when she comes to that day that she's going to focus on, she can clearly see only the tasks in multiple categories that she's going to work on. And that's when then she burns her boats to get it done. And then she went on to say, really excited about implementing this new technique into my daily life. Fantastic. And here is Ramona's Kanban board, which again, she posted into the Facebook group. So once again, I'm going to make that link available to you guys, and I'd like you all to come in there. I moderate the group. It's members only. So it really is a vibrant and supportive group, and I'm sharing, case studies and success stories of student success from the group today, which I think is much better, than the theory. So that you can see other students like yourselves dealing with exactly the same issues that you've got, actually, making some progress in applying them. And, what I've said here in response to that picture was that eventually in her done column, it's going to say one little sticky there, graduated. And guys, I mean, I'm sure most of us on the call today, we're students, we're in academic studies, etc. Finishing that degree, ultimately that's the big task that we want to get done. But there's going to be a series of smaller tasks leading up to that. And so that visualization of what you really want to get to at the end of the day, as a result of getting through all those stepping stones, is really, I think, the power that you can get out of applying these principles. So Amy says, hi from Stellenbosch University. I love the idea of the Kanban board. I'm struggling and feel overwhelmed. I can look back and see how far I've come and feel proud and motivated. Amy, absolutely. That is absolutely so true, because when you get lots of stickies in that done column, that motivates you to look at your to-do list, because you're now creating a positive spiral. We spoke about the negative spiral earlier, where you're lazy in the morning, you don't get the work done in the afternoon, you stress and you don't sleep in the evening, you don't have the planning and the time management discipline, and each day just gets worse and worse and worse. Now, if you apply Kanban and time management principles and you share your progress about doing that in the members only Facebook group, you'll create a positive spiral. You'll get a couple of stickies into the in progress column, you'll burn your boats, you'll put them into done. You'll think, wow, this works. Okay, then you'll go back and you'll pick another couple of stickies from the to-do, put them in progress. Don't promise or overcommit too much that you can't do. Be realistic about what you can achieve in your life. Get them done. And keep all those stickies in the done column and put pictures of it in the Student Success Coach Facebook group. I want to see done columns with stickies, lots and lots and lots and lots of sticky tasks. Break them down into bite-sized chunks, an hour or two at the most, but certainly something that within a day or a couple of days you can get done. So a good example All right, so let's just carry on then where we were, and just to continue with the Kanban principles, and great to see that we've got some people who are quite familiar with Kanban and doing a lot of Kanban work already, which is fantastic. So Ramon is a good example there. Amy's a good example there. So thank you so much for sharing all of that. And as I said in the introduction to this section of the webinar, I'm going to make available a discounted access to this course in which you can see the whiteboard lesson there from how I teach you to apply Kanban boards. And as I've done on the whiteboard there, just with very simple stickies and tasks that you move from to do to progress to getting done, those will be very powerful for you to apply and make sure that you're able to be successful in your application of these principles. So guys, let's just make sure that you get the value that you came to this webinar, which is access into the Kanban course. So there it is. And before we get there, just to give you a bit of insight into the demos that you'll see there, and this one is the electronic Kanban board. So let's say you're in a syndicate and you've got a project to do with a couple of other members or other colleagues and students. Maybe you need to work as a team and you've got a Teams meeting or a Zoom meeting. I teach you in the course how to manage an electronic Kanban board, because at home you'll have your own Kanban board, but that's your workspace there, that's for your personal tasks. But now let's say you're a team leader, could be in a studying or a work environment. You've also potentially got to coordinate other people's tasks, and you set up a regular meeting to review this Kanban board. That's the cadence that you and your team have agreed on, and I show you then in the course how to manage an electronic Kanban board using those principles there. Okay, Gorga says, I make my timetable of 10-hour daily of self-study, but I'm unable to do this. What I have to do to follow my daily routine? I want to be clear and become successful. Okay, so Gorga, apply these Kanban principles. Take these principles and apply them on a daily basis. It's fantastic that you're aiming to do 10 hours a day. That's great. But what I would suggest is that you break those 10 hours down maybe into 6 or 7 sub-tasks. So if you take your 10 hours, maybe it's 1 hour on a certain module, 2 hours on another module, and then the night before, like we did with Kenneth now, your 10 hours should consist of individual hours or outcomes. I wouldn't have one block of 10 hours of studying as a single task. That's too big, like I was saying. So as you go through the day, if you're going to do, let's say, 2 hours on module A, put that task into in progress, focus on that, get that done, move that task into done. Then on the next sticky is 2 hours on module B, study that, get that done, move that into done. Mishak says, the Kanban board method will be the way to go for me from this minute onwards, exactly as explained. Thanks very much, Mishak. Really appreciate that feedback. And just to reinforce this idea of cadence, it's that rhythm or that regular or consistent review of your Kanban board, which must be at the frequency that works for you. So for me in my PhD, it was on a weekly basis and on a Sunday night specifically. And my supervisors got used to seeing an email come through from me on Monday morning. Could be daily for you. And certainly in the agile team environment where, I've done a lot of research and was actually the subject and topic of my PhD itself, we would have what's called a weekly stand-up. So at 9 o'clock every Tuesday morning, we'd get the team together and we would review the Kanban board. And each row on that Kanban board would be an individual. And we would be able to clearly see the progress of an individual's tasks from in progress, from being on the backlog to in progress to done. Now, here's the thing. When you've got that group accountability, and this is where the burn the boats principle comes in, when you share that with somebody else, and in those weekly stand-ups, you share what you're going to commit to, you're going to get that stuff done because people can see that's the name of the person and the tasks that need to be done by the time that Kanban board is reviewed the next week. And the reason I put a cyclist there is that when you watch professional cyclists, the speed at which they actually turn the pedals is generally quite constant. What they then change is the gearing on the back wheel based on whether they're going up or downhill. So your cadence must always be consistent. The speed at the pedals must be consistent. Your daily, weekly, monthly routine, never compromise, never sacrifice that. And like I teach again and again in the courses, I didn't change my weekly cadence the whole of my PhD. Every single Sunday night, my supervisors got an email from me. That was my Kanban cadence. What does change is the uphills and the downhills, okay? And that's the calibration of how much you put onto your Kanban board. That's the calibration of how much time you have. Now, we all go through busy periods in our life. We all go through periods where, we know we're going through a tough time, and we have to change how much we think we can get done. But don't change the frequency or the cadence with which you review your Kanban board. Just change how much you put into your in progress column. And of course, there are those fantastic weeks or days where you get a lot done. But recognize that those, that's the downhill for the cyclist, and they can gear down, and while they're still pedaling at the same constant speed, the power transference from their pedals to their back wheel is going to be slightly less because things are just going really well for them. It's downhill, they're in flow, and they're making good progress cycling. But in your context, it'll be in terms of getting your tasks. Louise, thanks very much. I appreciate that. Where have I been for the past 6 years? I've been doing my PhD for the last 5 years, so I didn't have the chance really to get this set up. But when I finished my PhD last year, I got this group going, and so I don't know how you found us today, Louise, but the link is on the chat there for you to join us in the Facebook group where you can get support and motivation for you to then apply these principles and find out about these events, and then also practice your own discipline of burning your boats like we saw Ramona has done, or post pictures and updates of your work. And the lovely thing about the Facebook group, and this is what Melissa was saying last week in the student mental health webinar, there's no supervisors in that group. I don't work for a university. I mean, for me, it's about your success. It's about creating a safe space for you to come in there and share and be vulnerable and be open and authentic and honest about the challenges that you're having, for the single outcome of us helping you overcome those. Not to measure you or assess you. That's not my job. Okay. My job is to coach you and help you and support you. And we actually also have mentors in the Facebook group. So when you hop into the group, you can see there's a mentorship button. We had a webinar previously on mentorship, and I interviewed Cara Demura from University of Pretoria, who's taken the lead to help set up the mentorship program. And I'm desperate for others to step up and be a mentor. So once again, you can DM me in the group, and even you don't have to contact me. In that button, you can sign up to be a mentor. And I think we've got Cara and Louise. And then what happens is once you set yourself up as a mentor, the Facebook group actually pairs you, and you can make contact with each other and set up a mentorship arrangement. And the reason that mentorship is so powerful, because you can apply Kanban principles into that mentorship arrangement. So what I did with my supervisors, you could potentially do with a mentor. And I think what Cara does effectively with a couple of other students is just a 20-minute catch-up once a week that says, check in, how are you doing, but using those Kanban principles to say, let's just check in. What's your backlog looking like? What's your in progress looking like? Have you got a few things into the done column this week? So Koketso, absolute pleasure for the insights and the resources. All I ask is, if you do my courses, if you come into the Facebook group, if you, please do subscribe onto the YouTube channel. Please do just, leave a like, leave a comment, leave a rating, leave a review. Just make sure that you provide the social proof of the value that you get from those resources, so that it can be beneficial for a lot more people, and we can make this as sustainable as possible. Mangozo, yes, there is a WhatsApp group and a Telegram channel. I've actually just started the Telegram channel. So when you come into the members only Facebook group, through that process, I link you in then with the WhatsApp group and the Telegram group as well. So the whole process really starts, both the Facebook group, you come in there and you subscribe onto the YouTube channel so that you can get these webinars and then all the other coaching tips that come through there as well. Let's just finish off in the last few minutes then talking about this important concept of limit work in progress. Now, I think, we've had examples in the chat today of people who probably identify with that, picture on the left-hand side there, where it's a busy workspace, it's quite cluttered, we're all working at home. Do we live at work or work at home? It's all been blurred. We're not on campus much, we're not in the office much, we don't have this division between our home lives and our studies or our work, etc. And so we tend to have this cluttered environment that we're struggling to deal with. And Kanban is very powerful to help you because it focuses on the outcomes, not the activities. And it helps you reduce this idea of nearly done. So instead of having 100 things that you're nearly done, it focuses you on saying, limit the work in progress. Just spend your time on those things that you've got in that progress column, and you've burnt your boats about getting those things done. And then you spend the time and you focus and optimize your workspace around getting just those things done. Move them into the done column, and then go back and reassess the backlog and move them in. Now, that poor chap or lady sitting there has got 100 things that are all in progress and all nearly done. She's probably very demotivated by the clutter that she's trying to deal with and the 60 tasks that she hasn't been able to complete. And if I was to go in there and sort of coach her out of that situation, would obviously be to try and achieve the workspace that you've got there on the right-hand side. But it's not just about having, pretty looking shelves in a workspace. It's about the mental principles that you apply to managing your workflow and the tasks that you need to focus on, which then will transpire into the appearance of a much more organized workspace and an environment, which I think would reflect in the discipline that the person is experienced. Car2, what about those who don't have Facebook? Okay, so then you need to just get in touch with me through YouTube. So please subscribe on YouTube, and we can make contact there, and I can get you onto Telegram or WhatsApp or Instagram. We've got all of these resources available on those channels as well. So Car2, best place would be available there. And I think Car2, very importantly, let me just answer your question by giving you the link to the mailing list, because Car2, I presume that you do have email. So Car2, the best thing would be then for you to sign up for the exclusive promotional offers through the mailing list, and the value and the updates on the webinars and the sessions and the resources that I provide also obviously go through the mailing list. So Car2, look forward to seeing your email address pop up there in the mailing list. And hopefully, if you've got email, you don't need Facebook or WhatsApp or anything else like that. You can still get all of this value through the mailing list. And then Satati, what is the Facebook page name to join for this group? I'll pop that on there. It is the Student Success Coach, and you could just follow the link there that I'm putting into the chat right now, so that you can pop in there and get the value of being part of that group. So just a reminder then, this is the course that you've got discounted access to in the chat. And all the other lectures, I've given you a little bit of an overview of it in this session, but you'll be able to get all the value and all the downloadable resources and the reference guides and the whiteboard lecture and ongoing access to that material, so that you can do a refresher. You can make sure that you're applying those principles accurately on a regular basis. Will all become available to you once you hop into that course. And I've been able to provide you with discounted access today. Enroll as soon as possible so you can take advantage of that offer, and then go through the lectures and get the advantage that you can see there. Some of those course students have been able to demonstrate there in their comments. And I think the important one at the bottom there, after this course, I have learned to compartmentalize and work systematically on tasks. So the two important topics there for me is compartmentalize, so be able to create those lines, of distinction between the different areas of your life, as well as, the compartments within the different aspects of your studies, and then within those to work systematically on those tasks. And of course, in the course that I make available to you today, there is an assignment for you to set up your own Kanban board. So take action, enroll in the course, and go through that process, and I'll be able to give you comments on your own Kanban board, which you can provide a picture of and an update, about into the course, so that I can give you that one-on-one coaching attention to your implementation of the Kanban principles that we've made available to you today. And I think also, just to mention as we're closing off, and something that is becoming very popular is our podcast, which is available on Spotify, Google, Stitcher, Breaker, and iTunes. And I put the link there to Spotify, but you can also just go and search on your favorite podcast channel for the Student Success Coach, and it should come up there. And every week on a Wednesday morning, I make available interviews that I've done with not only students, but also academic leaders, but really focused on a lot of the topics that we talk about in these webinars, writing, discipline, referencing, getting through degrees, relationships with supervisors, time management, and ultimately so that in a very different format and channel, you don't have to look at a device. And I love being able to put my, AirPods in and go for a walk, take the dog out, get some sunshine, or go for a run at the gym, or even in your car on the way to work, for example. You're able to still get the benefit and the value, of everything that I make available through the Student Success Coach. But in the podcast, it's in the context of student stories. So very much like what we've done today, I shared the story of Ramona and her application of the burn the boats principle into getting the work done that she needed to complete for her law degree, and then the Kanban board and the tasks that she'll be able to manage through those podcasts, very much anchored around bringing those stories to life and eliciting from those successful students what they've done and what they've learned in their journeys of being successful. And I mean, one that just sticks out in my mind is Yolandi. And in her workspace, she's got some pictures up on the wall that she looks at. I guess she's got a Kanban board on the side, but she's left a blank space for her degree certificate. So she's purposely taken down a picture and there's a blank space there. So she looks at her blank space on the wall every time she sits down to work, and she knows and visualizes putting up her degree into that blank space, once she's got it. And that's what keeps her going. And that's just one of many examples and the type of value that you'll get by listening to the podcast. And once again, guys, please do review the podcast, subscribe to the podcast channel wherever you listen on your favorite podcast platform. And, just please do make sure that you give us feedback about the podcast, and also what you would like to hear more of in future. Rebecca, prefer emails and social media? Absolutely. And that's why, we keep all the options open. It is absolutely 100% optional. I've put the link in there for the mailing list. So just scroll up on the chat and you'll be able to, find that link for the landing page, put your email address there, and then we'll be in touch. And you'll get updates and obviously promotional offers and discounted access into courses that I make available exclusively into that mailing list, and then obviously also advertise and make available these webinars. And then just to end off with, guys, these are the next 2 week sessions. So next week, Friday, 12 o'clock, again on the YouTube channel. So make sure that you subscribe onto the YouTube channel, and you will get the notification about these live webinars, as well as any of the regular coaching videos that I put on there. I'm interviewing a lady by the name of Kathy Sims. Now, she runs an organization called the South African Graduate Employers Association. So she actually, gets all 26 of our formal tertiary institutions and universities together in South Africa, and they all the universities that are on here today are members of the South African Graduate Employers Association. And she then links in employers that would typically be looking for graduates, and she runs fairs. So there's the Virtual Grad Expo that's coming up. There's a couple other initiatives that she's talking about, and I think just so important for you to understand what is going on in the space of graduate employment. And we talk a lot about employment and jobs and positioning yourself for the workplace on these webinars. But I think if you listen to Kathy next week, you'll get a real sense, because she's constantly dealing with the major employers of graduates in this country. And having had a tough year in 2020, you're really going to need to make sure that you position yourself as well as possible for the employment opportunities out there. You're obviously getting out there to get a degree and being successful in doing Kanban and time management principles to be successful at that. But it's no good if you can't then use that degree to position yourself for meaningful employment in the workplace. And fantastic if you can, you've got the resources to carry on studying and do your master's and PhD and, perpetually study. That's fantastic. I think most of us are, going to have to find employment, and you're going to need to understand, and what I will discuss with Kathy next week, what employers are looking for in graduates. And we'll talk about the Virtual Grad Expo that she is arranging. I think it's in May or so, but Kathy will be here. You can listen to her for free. You can get all the insights from her. And I know Kathy, from years ago, she's been running this now for 16 years. She really, really, really understands the graduate employment market in South Africa. So make sure that you join us next week. And of course, if you're in the Facebook group, if you're on the WhatsApp broadcast channel, if you're on Telegram, if you're on the mailing list, and obviously also through the universities, we'll remind you of these sessions. And then the following week, we've got Wendy Levita, who's actually a very active member in the Facebook group. She's going to be talking on the 23rd of April. She's done some amazing charity work in Beautiful Life. So it'll be an opportunity for you to potentially contribute into that charity as well. They just do amazing, wonderful work for people and communities that need help, and we all have something that we can contribute, and it's often when it's organized that it has the greatest impact. So I should talk a little bit about that. But importantly, she also does life coaching and motivation, so we'll be asking her about those aspects and where we can all get more motivation and get those principles and tips and tricks to be successful in our life. And I think that's part of what I do. Is I certainly don't have all the answers, but I'm leveraging my network and the community that we have to bring people in here to share their insights and experience with you all, so that the sum of the parts is for the maximum benefit for everybody. Because to get this value in lots of different bits and pieces all over the place, you'd really struggle. So the best thing is to join these sessions every week. Everybody gets a lunchtime. Hopefully, you get the benefit of learning in it, the coaching tips and access to courses that I provided today, as well as the access and the insights from experts that we bring in. And we run giveaways. So we've had a proofreading editor a couple of weeks ago, and we gave away an hour's free proofreading and editing. We had a academic coach, a writing coach, a couple of weeks ago, and we provided a giveaway of a group coaching call for, I think it was 15 people that put hashtag pick me in the chat. And I need to follow up with her, but I believe that went very well. And I've obviously provided some giveaways and discounted access today to you to really give you as much value as possible and just help you be successful. And I was asked last week, Melissa asked me sort of why I do this, and I said, well, it's kind of everything I wished I had as a student. So I've been through that journey as a full-time student and then as a part-time student through BSc, masters, and a PhD, and worked in corporate for 25 years. I also understand that graduate employment space. I've interviewed and mentored probably hundreds of students and colleagues over the years, and I kind of can see both aspects of that. And that then really is what I try and bring to life in these webinars and these courses, and all the value that you get from the YouTube channel, the podcasts, and the Facebook group, etc. So just to answer Tati's question, same time next week, 12 o'clock next Friday. So exactly 1 week minus an hour from now. You can hop onto the YouTube channel and you'll have Kathy there. And once again, you can absolutely also ask her your questions. And I really absolutely guarantee you, and if you hop onto the Segia website, you'll see all the employers there that are members of that association, and then all 26 of the formal universities that are also members of that association. And really, she brings together the graduate employers, with the graduate training institutions, and that marketplace is you. You are all working towards hopefully getting a degree and then going into meaningful graduate employment. And so Kathy, will give you a lot of that information next week. So let's finish off. Keletso, just fantastic. Thank you. I've just subscribed to the YouTube channel, and absolutely, Keletso, all the past webinars are there. What I also do is I take some of the questions from the channel and the webinars that I don't get to, and I do specific videos on those, and I make those available on a daily basis. I also go and splice up previous webinars so you can get access to that value in bite-sized chunks, so that you don't have to go through the full hour recording. But I had a couple of people this week ask me about the mental health webinar, and kind of quite deep and important questions that we dealt with last week, and really suggested to them that they do go through that full hour and listen to Melissa and the discussions that we had last week, because I think we really got into some very authentic, deep issues that a lot of us are facing around anxiety and depression and mental illness, which also had a huge demand for. And I think Melissa really did such a fantastic job in helping us understand these issues. And she's then offered as well to become more active in the Facebook group. She's obviously finishing off her Bachelor of Psychology this year at University of Pretoria. And she will also be available as a mentor in the Facebook group. And just to reiterate, any of you today that are keen to give back as mentors, and I think you obviously have a chance now even to learn more as a mentor and help others, please do sign up in the Facebook group, not only to become a member, but when you go in there, click that mentorship button, and then it's very simple and easy. You can get hold of Cara if you've got any questions, but make yourself available as a mentor. It's not going to be a massive time commitment. You can use Kanban principles. They say you learn the most when you teach others. So most of us, we need mentors, and I'm certainly driving the recruitment and the availability of people then to provide that support and help to other people. Okay, so guys, just to recap and make sure that you've got all the value that you need. And in the Facebook group, I then do also provide all these slides so that you've got them all available and all the links once again. But just to recap on what we did, we went through Kanban principles and the course that you can get discounted access into to provide all the learnings that you need about Kanban to be successful in there, very much like Ramona was able to achieve. Which we learned about in the second half of the webinar. In the first half of the webinar, you learned about principles like burning your boats and the power of 10 minutes, and that was all to do with the principles that we taught around time management. And I've spoken a little bit about the courses, coaching, community, and podcast that is available on the Student Success Coach, and really all geared and anchored towards getting you guys all successful. And what I'm really looking forward to, and many of us won't have had, if you were at that stage, I certainly, when I got my PhD last year, was hoping for a physical graduation and walking across the Wits Grad Hall, but it didn't happen. My degree was dropped off here at home, and I had a special graduation at home, which was great. But looking forward to all of you in the Facebook group posting your graduation pictures, your gowns, your mortarboards, and then obviously going on into successful and meaningful employment so that you can be successful, you can give back, you can make a contribution. Your studies then, help lift you up in your life as well as your family. And hopefully the resources that we provide in this group, help you to achieve that. And ultimately, we're going to leave it here, but it really does depend on you taking action. Enrolling in both of those courses today, subscribing on the YouTube channel, going through the resources, taking advantage of everything that you've got available today, and then putting into practice, burning your boats, committing to us in the group, what you're going to do, and then once you've overcome that mental block of procrastination by committing to somebody else, using that time wisely, prioritizing the things that you're going to do, limiting work in progress, and practicing the cadence and discipline of a regular update on your Kanban board in whatever frequency works best for you. So David and everybody else, it has been an absolute pleasure. Hopefully everybody has learned in their lunchtime, and I want to say a very huge heartfelt thanks to everybody for your support this afternoon. And once again, join us for Kathy next week and Wendy for the following week, and look forward to seeing you in the Facebook group or on the mailing list or on the YouTube channel or on the podcasts. And once again, do please always leave a rating and a review and a like and a comment on any of the resources or the content that you consume. And most importantly, I'll see you in the courses, and I look forward to seeing your Kanban assignments, because that's going to be the greatest value that you get out today, is to take action and actually implement a Kanban board in your workspace, so that just like Ramona and others that have commented on the chat today, you get the benefit of Kanban to master your tasks and your time. All right, thanks everybody. Have an awesome day, a good weekend ahead, and remember to take action and use all the resources that are available to you in this community. It's my commitment to your success. Cheers.